They all laughed at him, not out of cruelty, but out of certainty. The tortoise was too slow, too dull, too ordinary to matter in a world that glorified speed, flair, and applause. The jungle animals had gathered for a race that wasn't just about who was fastest. It was about status, pride, and proving who deserved to lead. The hare bounced with energy. The deer flexed their legs. The cheetah grinned smugly, and even the monkey chuckled as he twisted his tail in anticipation. But there he was, the tortoise. Small, silent, alone. "Why even try?" the peacock whispered. "This is not your place." And yet, the tortoise simply smiled, not to prove them wrong, but because he believed in something they didn't understand. It wasn't speed that defined success, he thought. It was intention. It was commitment. It was purpose. As the race began and the jungle echoed with the thunder of paws and hooves, the tortoise didn't surge forward. He took one quiet, steady step, not looking left, not chasing anyone, just moving forward with quiet resolve. Because he knew this wasn't just about finishing the race. It was about something much bigger. In his heart, the tortoise wasn't running to win applause. He was running for every creature who had been told they were too slow, too simple, too small to matter. Every step he took carried the weight of silent dreams. While the crowd cheered for those who raced ahead, no one noticed the tortoise whispering encouragement to himself. Not loud, not dramatic, but unshakably present. And sometimes that presence, that stillness, is more powerful than any sprint. The jungle was alive with noise and excitement that morning. Birds chirped louder than usual. Monkeys swung from trees shouting. And even a usually calm elephant couldn't help but trumpet in anticipation. Today wasn't an ordinary day. Today was a grand jungle race, a tradition that only the fastest dare to enter. The clearing was filled with animals stretching their legs, flexing their muscles, and warming up for the big event. Among them stood the expected champions. The hare with twitching nose and smug grin, the sleek panther with claws that gripped the ground like fate, the gazelle with legs like whips, and the peacock, not fast, but flamboyant enough to believe he should be there anyway. They all boasted, laughed, and whispered among each other. But their laughter grew loudest when the tortoise walked up. He wasn't trying to draw attention. He moved slowly as always, his shell marked with scratches that spoke of experience, not speed. He didn't carry arrogance in his posture, just quiet belief. Yet the moment he reached the starting line, the crowd's energy shifted. "Are you lost, old one?" the monkey joked from a branch overhead. "This is a race, not a picnic," the fox added, laughing as he flicked his tail. Even the hare snickered, loud enough to draw more chuckles. "Don't worry," he said, patting the tortoise's shell. "You'll catch up by next year." The tortoise said nothing. He didn't offend himself. He didn't glare. He simply looked at the path ahead, and then he smiled, not because he expected to win, but because he had already won something far more difficult. The courage to show up despite the odds. When the signal horn echoed through the jungle, the crowd roared as the fast ones sprinted forward like arrows. Dust flew, hooves pounded, paws thudded against the dry earth. The hare zipped past like lightning. The deer leaped with grace, and the panther moved like a shadow. In seconds, the fastest were out of sight. But the tortoise, he took a single step, then another. No urgency, no fear, just forward movement as steady as time. Most animals forgot he was even part of the race. They turned back to cheering the leaders, focusing only on who would win. But the tortoise wasn't racing against them. He was racing against every voice that had ever told him he wasn't enough. He moved past the tall grasses where snakes hissed in the shade, past the broken log where the ants marched in silence, past the cool riverbank where even the fish paused to observe the strange scene, a creature so slow, so silent, moving like a dream no one believed in. And still he moved. As he journeyed deeper into the trail, he passed other animals who hadn't joined the race. A baby squirrel called out, "Why are you still going? They're so far ahead." The tortoise replied with a soft smile, because it's not always about being first. Sometimes it's about not stopping. His voice wasn't loud, but it stayed with the squirrel, just like his presence stayed with everyone he passed. He didn't just walk, he inspired, not with words, but with action, consistent, determined, humble. Meanwhile, at the front of the race, Things weren't going as expected. The hare, confident in his lead, had stopped to rest under a tree, convinced he had all the time in the world. The panther got distracted chasing a butterfly. The deer twisted her ankle jumping a stream. The peacock, too focused on posing for the crowd, tripped over his own feathers. One by one, those ahead were either slowing, stumbling, or stopping. But the tortoise? He kept going. The sun rose higher, shadows shifted, and even the air changed. But nothing shook the tortoise's rhythm. Each step was a promise, a whisper of something deeper than the race itself. He wasn't just competing. He was proving something. To the world, to the crowd, but most importantly, to himself. He remembered the early days of being ignored during jungle meetings, spoken over during discussions, laughed at when he offered ideas. All his life, his speed had made him invisible. But that day, with every quiet footstep, he was leaving a trail not of dust, but of dignity. He didn't compare. He didn't complain. He didn't crave attention. He simply believed. As the tortoise rounded the final turn in the race path, a few animals noticed him again. Their excitement turned into silence. Their mocking turned into awe. The baby squirrel clapped. The owl blinked in disbelief. Even the peacock turned away from his reflection in shame. This wasn't a story about a race anymore. It was about resilience. It was about showing up when no one expects you to. It was about doing what's right, even when it's hard. It was about continuing, when everyone else has stopped, and it was far from over. As the tortoise approached the finish line, there was no roar cheers, no dramatic music, no drums, just silence. And in that silence, the sound of realization was louder than anything else. One by one, animals turned to look. He wasn't supposed to be here, not this far, not this steady, not this calm. Yet here he was. Dust clung to his shell, sweat trickled down his wrinkled skin, and his breathing was heavy, but his eyes, they were still full of peace. A few animals from the crowd stood. Others whispered. The lion blinked slowly, watching with a mix of pride and confusion. The monkey, once laughing from the tree, now watched quietly, arms crossed in contemplation. Even the hare, woken from his nap under a tree, rubbed his eyes in disbelief as he saw the tortoise taking those final steps toward the finish. Not rushing, not collapsing, just walking, with the same patience, the same consistency he started with. And then it happened. He crossed the line. The silence cracked open into thunderous applause, not because he came first, but because he finished with something none of the others had shown: integrity. The tortoise didn't raise his arms. He didn't shout. He simply smiled and sat down under the nearest tree, not because he was tired, but because he had arrived, not just at the end of a race, but at the beginning of something bigger. The jungle didn't cheer because he won. They cheered because he reminded them what winning really means. The hare came forward, ears lowered, not in defeat, but in humility. "I ran fast," he said softly, "but I lost my way. You walked slow, but never left your path." The tortoise looked up and replied, "Sometimes speed only matters when your direction is right." The lion stepped down from his throne and said, "Today, the slowest among us became our greatest teacher." That moment became a memory in every creature's heart. But what the tortoise had truly won could not be seen or touched. He had won respect, not through noise, but through quiet strength. He had earned trust, not by boasting, but by showing up every single step. He had awakened hope in the ones who always believed they were too late, too far behind, or too small to matter. In the days that followed, things changed. The young animals stopped mocking those who moved slowly. The elders began to be heard more in meetings. The elephant, who had always been shy because of his weight, now walked proudly. Even the parrot, who once repeated what others said, began to speak her own thoughts. And the tortoise? He didn't take a crown or throne. He didn't become king. He became something far more powerful, a symbol, a reminder that the race is not always to the swift, but to those who stay the course. He kept walking through life just as he walked that race, with patience, purpose, and quiet confidence. And wherever he went, animals would greet him not with cheers, but with respect in their eyes, not because he won first place, but because he finished with grace. He showed them that sometimes the slowest step is still a step forward. That success isn't about arriving early, but arriving prepared. That true strength lies not in how fast you run, but in how long you believe. That those who laugh at others' pace may never understand their purpose. And above all, that the ones who walk with heart win more than just races. They win souls. They win minds. They win the power to change how others see themselves. One story says the tortoise beat the hare. But this story is bigger. This tortoise didn't just beat a hare. He beat doubt. He beat discouragement. He beat every whisper that told him he couldn't. He crossed the line carrying not a trophy, but a truth. Even the quietest ones can lead. Even the slowest can inspire. Even the overlooked can change the world. So the next time someone tells you you're too late, too small, too slow, smile like the tortoise and keep walking. Because if your heart is steady and your purpose is clear, you won't just finish the race. You'll win something far greater. You'll win something that lasts. Moral of the story: consistency beats speed. Character beats confidence. And those who walk with purpose often go further than those who run without it,